Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Stylosa and I'm going to show you where you should defend on every assault, hybrid and payload map. Okay, this is what you want to do on Temple of Anubis. And the reason for this video is a lot of people have been asking for this, and I've noticed that a lot of people kind of generally don't know the standard choke points on each map. So this video will quickly explain to you the chokes on every map. So we're going to get stuck into this. This is Temple of Anubis on the first point. Where you want to defend is here. You want your whole team here, pretty much. You can have potentially like a Reaper, or maybe a Winston if you've got one standing on this ledge here, because that's a nice little position to drop down onto them as they come through. Also, you could have a sniper sitting in this position here. You know, maybe a Widowmaker, a Hanzo, somebody like that. But the idea from this position is what you can do is you see them coming through the main choke. They either go to the left. If they do that, then you know they're there and you can collapse onto them. If they push really quick through into the point, you can drop back off this position and engage them. If they move through to the right, you can take them at this choke point there. That is pretty much the first point on Temple of Anubis. Let's move towards the second point. Now, this is a much simpler defensive position. You basically defend here, right? Your whole team will be set up towards the back. If you've got a Reinhardt, the Reinhardt will be standing here where the camera is. As they come through, you need to make sure you are aware of their, if they come from the left, through the middle, through the right. If they come from the left, they're going to pretty much end up in the middle anyway. You've got to keep your eyes open for flankers coming around this way. Genjis, Tracers, people like that are going to come through. If they come through to the right, you will notice there is a little tunnel over there. Then we'll go into this area, which is called the tunnel. And then, of course, if you're defending from this position here, you can collapse onto them there. All right, guys, let's move on to the next map. Alrighty then, we're on King's Row this time. Now, where do we want to defend here? Well, where we don't want to defend is here. We do not want to be standing at this choke here. And also, on every single map, you never, ever want to defend anywhere near their spawn point because the attackers have a major advantage there. So you don't really want to defend here. That's a bad idea. What you want to do is look at maybe placing your defense to begin with here. Now, this will need to change. So when I'm talking about placing defense, I mean, this is where your Reinhardt, your tanks, the bulk of your defense will be in this position. As they come through the choke, you can hit them. Generally, they'll move around this statue and then you can continue to hit them. You could have somebody in that position there, maybe like a little flank position, potentially somebody there, and potentially somebody could be using this position here to sort of peek out and fire down. Now, what you're looking to do on this point is if they push hard, if they've got a dive comp. Now, what a dive comp is maybe it's Winston, it's D.Va, and they attack you really quick. They jump directly onto your team. You need to pull back to this position here, and then this is where you want to engage them. If they do a slow push, then you can pretty much stay here and just try to take out their Reinhardt and destroy them. That is pretty much this position. It is hard to hold because it's so close to the enemy spawn. If you lose 2 players, you've pretty much lost this point unless you've got people who absolutely go crazy and kill the enemy team. Okay, let's move to the next defensive choke point, which isn't actually that far away. So if you lose the first point, you can actually defend from here. Now, what you want to do here is you want to engage them as the payload is through the arch. So when the payload is around about here, you can then start engaging on that enemy team. The payload is a large object which kind of blocks a lot of fire coming towards you. Yeah, sure, it blocks fire coming towards them as well, but you can use this position. Then there is another position just around here. This is generally the more standard choke on this position instead of using that more advanced one by the bookshop. You take them here, right? As they come around the corner, you can sort of take them out. Be aware of people coming from there. Again, you could maybe put somebody up there, drop a Reaper down from, this position here or something like that. The next choke point that you're going to use is this one. Although this choke here is... you will generally lose this choke. So if your defense gets broke here, you probably won't have enough time to get back and sort of put up any kind of defense at this point. So what we're looking at here is the main choke point on this map, and that is here, right here. This corner here is where your defense on most of your King's Row games will be the strongest. The streets phase usually goes pretty quick. That is this phase around here that we just spoke about here. This phase usually goes pretty quick. If you can't hold the initial choke, then you're probably going to have to hold at this point. And again, this gives you a lot of options, but do remember, try and wait for them to come around the corner here so then you can start hitting them and you've got the advantage. Do not defend here because they will just destroy you. They have the advantage. All right, guys, let's move on to the next map. Welcome to Hanamura. Okay, now this is the obvious choke, right, guys? Never defend anywhere in this area. This is suicidal. This entire area, I would just forget about this if you're on defense. What you want to do is hold this choke. Now, heroes like Mei can be super powerful on this map, and she's also really powerful on Temple of Anubis as well, especially on the final point. She can wall this. Your Reinhardt can just basically stand here. Your whole team can just hold this area. The only way they can get through this is they either go through the top or they come through the side here. But you should have somebody looking after this position here anyway. So if somebody just does dive through like a Genji, you can make the quick call. Genji's in, right? And then everybody can deal with him. This is where you defend, right? If they dive onto you quick, you want to quickly pull back to the point. So you want to get back into this position and sort of absorb them as they come in. That's pretty much this point. It's very simple. The next point, though, is a little bit different because what you want to do is always reset your defense to here. Your entire team wants to be here on the high ground. The reason for this is you can attack every single attack. You can counter them. If they come to the left, you can keep them in this little small choke and destroy them. If they come to the sort of through the main or the lower, whatever you would like to call this section, you can drop down onto them and engage them. Or in fact, just keep using your high ground advantage, firing onto them while they're down on the choke. If they come from the left, or I guess it's from the right-hand side if you're from the defender's perspective. This is not, you don't generally see teams coming from this way. You might see the odd flanker trying to get in, but again, you've got eyes on every position. That's pretty much this isn't Temple of Anubis, is it, guys? That's pretty much Hanamura in a nutshell. It is kind of simple. Just make sure on the second point, you always reset your defense to this area here, because from here, you can get everywhere else. All right, guys, let's move on to the next map. Welcome to Watch Point Gibraltar. All right, so on this one, where do we want to defend? Well, we do not want to be anywhere down here. We don't want to be there. We don't want to be anywhere around here. This is too close to their spawn. What you can do, though, is you can potentially poke from this position, but you have to be really careful. So if your whole team is waiting in this area here, you can fire at them as they move the payload, but you do not want to get killed. If any of your team get picked, and if you hear me using that terminology, it means like a quick kill. That means you're 5v6, and that means they will most likely capture the checkpoint over there. We don't want that. What you want to do is get a few shots in, maybe build some multi-charge, and as soon as they pretty much get to sort of this position here with the payload, you need to get the hell out of here. You need to jump all the way back down here and reset to this position around here. From here, you can start working on them as they come through below. They might come through this room here, which is called the server room, because they can get that from the top, or they might come in this position. Now, what you want to do here is you want to abuse the high ground in this entire area. You want somebody over here. You want, people over to this position. You just basically want to fill this area and you want to hold them as long as possible. Remember, high ground is a major advantage. So wherever you can take high ground, you should always take high ground. Okay, let's say you've lost this point. Now you need to move back to this point. See this shuttle? This is a very, very strong defensive position. If you can get onto the shuttle here, look at this. You can see where they're coming through. They cannot get through. Like, there's 4 doors. You've got eyes on all of them. Whichever way they come, you can destroy them. Now, everybody can get on this shuttle. Not many people know this. If you get up to the top here, move through the shuttle, you see this crate? You can jump on that. You can jump up there. You can run, and then you can jump up to the side of the shuttle, and then you can get onto the shuttle. If you can't get to the shuttle, though, what you're going to need to do is move back into this area here and take them as they come around this corner. Try and resist the urge to engage them as they're moving the payload through this area here on the low ground, because this is sort of to their advantage. They don't really want to do that. Okay, let's say you've lost this point now and you need to move back. All you want to do is hold them here. This is the final choke point here. You want them to come around this corner here, and then you want to destroy them. This is it. This is the final choke point. Make sure enemy players do not get up here onto the high ground. You can have somebody on the high ground here which fires down onto them. That's fine. Be aware of the flank route around the side, which is this. If Pharahs, Genjis, people like that come over the top, Winstons could even jump over the top, they can get into your backline, potentially take out your support, so be very aware of that. Alright guys, let's move on to the next map. Welcome to Numbani. Alright, where we don't want to go to Numbani is anywhere around here. Ignore this entire area for defense. You do not want to go anywhere over there. You could potentially have somebody here who just pokes them as the enemy team move through, but this person's going to need to get the hell out, because if that whole team comes around the corner and takes them out, that is not what you want. Instead, what you want to do is focus your defense on this position. This is the same mentality as on Hanamura. You're in a nice high position here. You've got eyes on every possible attack position. If they come through this small choke here, you can just destroy them in the choke. If they come down here, you can attack them from the high ground and then drop onto them. If they come from the sort of windy path to the right, again, you can attack them from the top and then drop down on them. That is where you defend at this position. You could have maybe the odd sniper maybe sitting in this position, a Soldier 76, your Widowmaker, your Hanzo, whatever, at this position. So let's say you've lost this position and you need to move to the next defensive choke point. You want to ignore most of this area here. You don't want to be here because that's where the attackers will destroy you. Instead, what you want to do is hold in this area here. Again, this is quite a nice defensive position. You've got a nice little bit of high ground that you can use. You can sort of put your tanks in this position down here to sort of hold them as they come around the bus. When they get around this green bush, you can start firing on them, doing an attack to them. Well, attacking on them. I don't even know what I'm saying. Just destroy them at that point. This side round here, they may flank around there, so be aware of that. And again, they could flank around on the right-hand side. So this point is not the greatest defensive position on the map. The first point probably is. However, if you lose this point, it doesn't matter because you've got one more go. And this is where you can hold them here. You really, 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 really want to hold them here. You do not want to hold here. Because if you're here, they're going to attack you and you're in the open. It's not a clever idea. You want them to come around a corner pretty much all of the time. You want the attackers to come around a corner and then you just absolutely hit them with loads of damage. And that's what you do here. You're set up here. They come around the corner and you smash them with damage. That's what you do. Again, be aware of people coming around this side on the right-hand side. Potential flankers trying to get into your backline, taking out your Zenyatas, your Mercies and people like that. All right, guys, that's Numbani. Let's move on to the next map. Welcome to Volskaya Industries. Now, where do we want to defend here? Well, we don't want to defend anywhere around here. It's too close to the enemy spawn. They're going to respawn faster than you can really kill them. And it's, yeah, if you lose a guy, it's a high-risk defense. Don't do that. Instead, you want to hold them here. This is the choke point. Now, you can pretty much just spread out, to be honest, in this area. You know, maybe put somebody on the high ground there. Keep your tanks down here. You need to be aware of, sort of being aware, I guess, of which way they come in. The attacking team will either push through this way and go here and try and maybe take the high ground or go into this way. Most of the time, attacking teams will take this route, go through the left, or they will just push straight through this position here, try and engage you here, and then move down to this point. So if you're in this sort of area there, you need to keep eyes on which way they go, and as soon as you identify if they've gone left or right, you collapse onto them from there. It's a pretty simple defensive position, this is. I wouldn't say expect to lose it, but it's so close to the enemy's respawn. If you lose it, it's not the end of the world. And also, like, obviously, you know, you could have people standing here and, you know, it's general kind of spread out defense sort of position. The final point, however, is the complete opposite. This is the strongest defense point on the map and one of them in the game, I guess. It's up there with Hanamura's first point. So they can only really come through this way. They can come through there and then they can come through here. They can maybe flank around the outside as well, but I've not really been seeing too much of that. And if that does happen, your entire team will pretty much be here. So you'll just take out any flankers. So yeah, it's a really, really strong defensive position. So you could put somebody here who could abuse this sort of high ground. And yeah, you pretty much just attack them as they come through. It's a very strong defensive position. Your defensive spawn is, well, it's there. So you're right on top of the defense. The enemy defensive spawn is miles and miles away. It's all the way over here. So, you know, you have a major advantage. Just remember, stay together, and whichever way they come through, or if you notice any kind of flankers come through to the left or the right, make sure you call them out to your team and just destroy them at this point. It's a very, very strong defensive final point. All right, guys, let's move on to the next map. Welcome to Hollywood. Okay, again, this is a pretty simple defensive position. You do not want to go out here, and I think most players are aware that you don't really want to defend in this position. This is bad. You're really close to their spawn. They're just going to annihilate you here, and you're going to lose the first point. Instead, you want to hold them here at the entrance to Goldshire Studios. Now, you don't want to be here. You actually want to be just around the corner, sort of here. Again, this is because you want them to come round into your fire so you can smash them with everything. You don't want to be standing here because they can attack you from a long range. They're going to burn down Reinhardt shields. They're going to build ulti charge. They're going to damage you. You don't want that. Be aware of anyone coming through the security room and anybody kind of trying to do a quick, fast dive around the back here. You can also defend on the high ground here. You could sit up here, but again, I'm not a biggest fan of this because if you sit here, as they come around the corner, they can absolutely start hitting you, which is not great. There's a lot of line of sight there. I don't really prefer that. I prefer defenses to be sort of set up here. Again, as I said with King's Row, if you get hit with a fast dive comp, so the monkey, I keep calling him the monkey. I know he's not a monkey. He's a gorilla. He's Winston. Let's call him the scientist from space. Well, from the moon. He's not from space. If Diva and Winston come and attack you, and it's a really quick push, again, just sort of pull back to this position. Not on the lift, what the hell? Pull back to this position here and just sort of hit them as they come through. You can put somebody on top of the cafe there, which again is a decent position to hit people as they're coming in. But yeah, that's pretty much the defensive position here, which is, it's pretty simple provided you hold this area here. If you're a Reinhardt player, and always use Reinhardt on this map on defense, this is where you kind of want to be. Okay, let's say you've lost this point. and you move onto this area. This is my favorite part of this map. This is the Wild West area. You want to hold the high ground. You want to get here. If you can, you want your whole team to get here. Because, just like all the other maps where we've been holding high ground defensive positions, you got eyes absolutely everywhere. If they come through here, you can drop down onto them. If they come around here, you can drop down onto them. You've got the high ground advantage. You can attack them as they're coming through. It's a very, very strong defensive position. However, if you don't have the time to get up there, because it actually is quite a long way to get up there, you know, if you look at it this way, you could potentially get the lift from here, or get the lift here to get up onto the high ground, unless you can sort of fly or wall climb or whatever. It can take some time. Then maybe consider holding them in this position here. This isn't a bad position to hold them, but be aware it is a little bit close to their spawn. It's further away from yours, really, than it is to theirs. But it's not a bad position. Then, as they get the payload around this corner here, this is sort of the last-ditch defensive area here. And this is just sort of like, just fight them as best you can around here. Let's say you lose this point. The last point you want to defend at is nowhere here. Do not defend here. Do not stand on this high ground. It's all suicidal. You want to take them as they come around the choke here. You want to wait for them. Don't be worried about being so close to your final checkpoint. Just wait here. As they come around the corner, you hit them. Remember what I keep saying. You want them to come around the corner so you can attack them first. You don't want to be standing in a place like this, where as soon as the doors open, they can start attacking you. That's not what you want. You want them to filter around choke points, and then you want to smash them with damage. If you lose this point here, you've pretty much lost. It's last-ditch kind of defense in this area, and just hoping things go right. Alright guys, let's move on to the next map. Righty-ho, welcome to Route 66. Do not defend anywhere here. Do not stand on this bridge. Do not stand there. No, don't defend there. What you want to do is defend here on Big Earls. Now, there is actually a position over there, which I'll show you in a second, but I prefer Big Earls. The reason for this is, again, you've got the high ground. You can drop down onto them, and you can hit them wherever you like. When they get around this corner here, you can smash fire into them. You've got the advantage. If somebody tries to come around the left, you can take them out from the high ground. What you do need to do, though, is keep your eyes on these tunnels, because if somebody comes through there and you're not aware of it, they can potentially knock you off the top. Talking about being knocked off the top, if you get hit with a D.Va or Winston that attempt to rush you really quick and knock you off the top, you're going to need to sort of absorb that attack and try and hold the high ground if you can. The other position is here. Now, this is sort of the secondary defensive position in my eyes. You can take the high ground here. You've got eyes on the tunnel. You don't really have too good vision on the lower tunnel. I mean, you'll see them when they come through, but you can't attack them as they come through kind of thing. And again, when they come around the corner, you want to attack them. But I would say always defend on top of Big Earls. Do not stand on the low ground here. Do not defend around here, because if you're sitting here, they can flank you, and it's going to be all kinds of problems. Alright, let's say you've lost this point. You need to move back. Where do you go? Well, you go here. You take the high ground again. You stand on this bridge. You sort of defend as they come through. Keep your eyes on the tunnel in case anybody tries to flank. Now, if you get knocked off this position, it's sort of like, it's a little bit hit and miss. If you're knocked down on the low ground here, yeah, you can try and defend, you can try and hold, but they can maybe take the high ground from their side. They can come around over there and take the high ground. What I would always try and do is always try and reset to this sort of high ground position here. Try and push them back. So if you lose this point, well, it doesn't really matter, because you've got a really, really strong defensive position here. This is super strong. Strongest point on the entire map. What you want to do is wait for them to come round and attack you. You want to set your defense up here. You want them to come round. You want to hit them. You've got high ground you can use over there for your DPS. You don't really want your Reinhardt up there or your other tanks. They sort of want to boss this middle position. You also want to keep eyes on this. You do not want to get flanked. You do not want anybody running in behind. Tracers, Genjis, trying to take out your supports. That is going to be bad, bad news. Yeah, so you sit here and you basically just hit them time and time again. Most of my Route 66 games are either one on the first point or here. Alright guys, let's move on to the next map. Welcome to Dorado. Now, we don't want to defend anywhere round here, to be honest. We don't want to be here. We don't want to be there. We don't really want to stand here. Like, yeah, I remember when I first started playing Overwatch, I would always stand here and defend. It's not a great idea. You're so close to the enemy spawn, you're going to get destroyed. What you can do, though, if you're feeling a little bit cheeky, is you can sort of start the defense here, but you're not going to defend from this position. What you do is, as the payload moves around the corner, you get a few shots onto them, you build a little bit of ulti charge, but pretty much as the payload sort of gets to around about this position, you need to fall back. So what you're going to do, if you are using this sort of poke strategy, is you pull back to this area here, and this is where you hold them. Now, you don't even need to use that poke position. If you watch a lot of pro teams play, they won't really use that. They'll just wait here, wait for the payload to move, and then engage. The reason why this is so good is, again, because it's such a small choke point. You've got to be aware of a couple of things, though. They can get round this way, so always keep eyes on the right, and they can also flank from this position. So if they move around here, your Genjis, your Pharahs, your Divas, your Winstons, the guy with the bow, they can get over here, and then they can start attacking you from behind, which can catch you off guard. It's caught me off guard quite a few times. Somebody jumps down, they take out the Zenyatta, you've lost your support, oh god, you've only got Mercy left or something like that, and it's going to be difficult. So you want to hold them at this area here. If they push it through this area, it is worth trying to get back to attempt to contest this. If the payload is sort of, I guess, in this area here and moving slowly, you may be able to contest it before it actually gets to the point. Anyway, let's say you've lost this position. Where do you want to go? Well, you've got two options. You can go here. Always use high ground. High ground is key. Wherever there's high ground, you really want to take the high ground as a defensive position. So you want to maybe sit here. You can sit here. This is kind of an aggressive defensive position. So when I'm saying sit here, I'm talking about the whole team. I'm talking about Reinhardt's. I'm talking about your tanks, your supports. Pretty much everybody's together, waiting for them to come through, and then you hit them. If you're being a bit more conservative, you can take this high ground position here. From here, you can see down onto them there and attack them as they move through. And again, the same principles apply. If they get close to you, you can drop down on top of them. You can really bash them and smash them into submission. However, if you lose that point, then you've got one final defensive position to take, and it is over here. Again, it's high ground centric. High ground centric? Yeah, I guess that works. It's a high ground centric defense. Wait a minute. Protocol Sombra. It's high ground centric defensive position. You want to be here. Again, the reason for this is if they come through directly in front of you, you can smash them. If they come through the middle, you can drop down onto them. It's a very strong defensive position. You can defend down here if you like. Problem with this is if they rush up and take the high ground, so if they come through here and then move up to here and move around to here and they've got the high ground, well, they've got high ground advantage, so they can drop down onto you, and that's probably going to cause you a problem. That's pretty much it for Dorado, and I think we're moving on to the last map now, which is the brand new one, Eichenwald. Welcome to Eichenwald. Now, this is the latest map, and the sort of meta hasn't really developed that much on this map at the moment, but I can see the kind of way things are going. Where you want to defend on Eichenwald to begin with is right here. This choke is so unbelievably good to hold. It is ridiculous. Mei can be very strong here. Mei can hold this. And like a Mei and a Reinhardt, I would say fantastic picks here. Even a Junkrat as well. Super, super good because they can only really come through this choke or they come above it. And, well, you can just sort of... you can hold that all day. Yeah, there is a crazy long flank round here, which most people don't really know about, but it's so long and only a few characters can do it. I don't know, it's not really viable, I don't think. Also, some characters can jump over the top here, your Genjis, your Pharahs, your Divas, and get down here, but I wouldn't really worry about that, because if one guy comes over, you should be able to destroy them. If you can't hold at this position here, well then, we need to fall back, and this is where we're going to fall back to. Maybe if you can get back in time, you can sort of contest into this area here, but then it becomes more of a brawl. It's not really a set-up defensive position. Your next defensive position is over here. This is amazingly good. This is the high ground on Eichenwald. What you want to do is get people up here, because look at this. You can fire down onto them from every attack position. From that door, from that door, from that door, and over the top there. You also can sit over here as well. Again, doing loads of damage to them as they come through. You can basically hold them here. It's so, so powerful. So if you get knocked off this position or they manage to push through, your next sort of choke point, well, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. You can sort of sit here and take them as they come around the corner, but this, I don't know, it's more in favour of the attackers if you ask me at this section. And there's a load of flank routes. Remember, people can go through here. You can actually go underneath. You can go around the back. There's so many ways here. It's such a nice area. I really like this area. It gives you like a lot of different things to do on attack and defense, but what I would always say is when you first get to this point, always set up your defense at these two positions here if you can. If you can't, then look at defending a little bit further back. Alright, now you've lost this point, so you move on to another extremely good choke point, and Mei and Junkrat are mega strong at this position. It's here. You want them to come around the corner here, and then you want to smash them as they come around the corner. So as they come around the corner here, they have to come around the corner. They can go around the side here, try and flank, but they have to go through this door. And you will see them, because you're here. You will see anybody who uses that door. So if you see a Genji run through here, well, you know he's going to come through here. He's either going to come down there, or it's a tracer or any kind of flanker, or they're going to move around and try and get through here. Maybe take this sort of little high ground there, or maybe get into the back and try and move down here. But you'll know they're going to do this, so you've got the information. It's an amazing defensive position. Also, Mei, she can wall this. Mei's ulti covers the whole area, basically, so it's crazy strong. It is... Oh, there's a bird. It is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, guys. Now, I want you to let me know in the comments below if this has helped you. These are the defensive choke points that are used. They're sort of the standard choke points across all of the assault, payload, or I guess payload is escort in Overwatch terminology maps, and hybrid maps. Let me know if you want to see more stuff like this, guys, because I have enjoyed making this video, and yeah, let me know if it's helped you as well, guys, and let me know if you use any other chokes. But all these chokes I've outlined in this video are the standard chokes that you should always look to using. Alright, guys, I've been Stylosa. This is Unit Lost. If you enjoyed the video, then subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you next time. Toodaloo.